Hello everyone! Today we're going to check out these 4 new gear cubes from QiYi. But before we get into it, guys, my hair is like going insane right now. So I'm going to wear a hat for today's video so I don't look too ridiculous. Hope this helps. Let's get right into it. Alright, so we have these 4 new puzzles and they're all really high quality gear cubes. So I've been playing with these for a few days and I wanted to give you my thoughts on all of these puzzles. So starting off with these 3, these are all basically the exact same puzzle. They're like a typical 3x3 gear cube and gear ball and gear barrel. They all solve with the exact same method and they're just kind of shape mods of one another. That said, they're all pretty fun and they all have unique qualities to them. So starting off with the gear cube, this is the first one that I tried. The turning on this is spectacular. I've tried other gear cubes in the past that are just, they're pretty bad. Honestly, this thing is so good. The turning quality is amazing. I mean, like, I can spin this with such ease. It's ridiculous. And I mean, that works in all directions. Like, I can scramble this thing and turn it so easily just because of how well it moves. Like, it corner cuts. It's very impressive. And it also, once again, looks really kind of crazy when you scramble it. So this one actually isn't that hard to solve. So I'll go ahead and do a little walkthrough right here. First step would be corners, and then we want to get centers. So here we have all the centers aligned. And then we'll look for some edges that need swapping. So red, white needs to swap with red, yellow. R2U, R2U. The algs on this are also very simple to learn, so there's not a lot of memorization to go into this. So let's do these. So that put all of the ones in this row aligned. Honestly, I don't really know if I have the greatest method for doing this. Seems like I kind of go in circles a lot, but I get there in the end, and that's what matters. So now that we have everything in the right spot, we just kind of do an R4 until it's solved. Okay, so they're flipped here. So the interesting thing that this gear cube doesn't have, that some other gear cubes do have, is the other gear cubes will have like colored pieces on the end of this gear, and that would tell you like whether these gears were flipped or not. You would ideally flip these before, spinning them with your R4s. But that basically doesn't change the solving process of this cube. It just means that we'll do the flipping algorithm as the last step. And that's as simple as RU, RU, RU. So it's very simple to solve and there's not a lot of algorithms. So it makes it really fun and it looks impressive to solve because of how crazy it gets when the gears spin like that. I think this cube is a great intro to gear cubes for beginners. It's really easy to turn, it's high quality, there's tiles instead of stickers so you don't have to worry about anything peeling off since these are weird shaped pieces. And it just looks really cool and kind of impressive, Now that we've seen the flat face versions, let's move on to something more spherical. So here we have the gear ball. This is a pretty iconic shape here. And once again, we have the same type of color arrangement as the other one, where we don't have the pieces here that are colored. But once again, it is no matter. So other than the shape, the main quality difference I noticed about this one is that this thing is just, it feels drenched in lube, honestly. The other one felt pretty dry, yet it was smooth. Like, look how shiny those internal pieces are. You see the black pieces here? They look like they've just been drenched in lube, honestly. So it's a bit excessive, but it's down under the top of the pieces, so it doesn't really get on your fingers. And the turning is like super quiet and smooth because of that. Once again, this one basically solves in the exact same way. This one is probably a bit harder to turn physically because it's harder to see where the turns align. And also it's more of a ball shape, so there's less to grip onto. But it'll basically solve in the same way. So we'll go ahead and solve corners and centers like this. Oh, okay, looks like I didn't really do a great job scrambling that because all the edges are already in the right place. They just need to be spun. So let's go ahead and do some R4s and get these edges oriented correctly. So here's this row here, and now we'll just do the other ones. Okay, so these 2 are flipped, so we know we can fix that at the end. And we have the same exact cases we had on the other one, where we have 4 on the front and 4 on the back that are solved. Or you could look at it as, 2 rings like this, and you can just do the exact same alg, RU, R, U, R, U. And it's solved. Basically, the only difference between this ball and the Gear Cube is that it's a bit harder to turn because, well, it's a ball and there's no corners to finger trick with. So in that sense, it's a bit more difficult, but from the actual algorithm solving process, it's basically the exact same. And there's one more that is, once again, the exact same. Let's check that out. So this is the gear cylinder, or gear barrel, I guess. And once again, same exact turning style. You can just do double turns everywhere, so I can scramble this up real quick. So this one's also kind of hard to see where everything lines up, but you know, that kind of adds to the challenge. So I guess that's a good scramble here. Let's go ahead and get corners. So we have these two reds that connect. And that's it. So just fix these centers here. Looks like these gears are already in the right spot. Actually, all the gears are in the right spot. Man, well, that was lucky, twice in a row. So let's spin this middle layer until the gears in that layer are aligned here. So they're flipped once again. And then these guys are also like flipped. So we can just do R, U, R, U, R, U. And then that solved the whole thing. Sometimes you can get really lucky solutions or very simple solutions depending on your scramble. And sometimes you can, you'll have to flip all the pieces. But that kind of adds to the fun of it. You never know when you'll get really lucky, and getting lucky is always fun. So despite it being the exact same to solve as the other puzzles, it still adds the element of difficulty because it's harder to see like where the pieces align. So obviously you want to make sure you line everything up first so you're not forcing turns. But it adds a unique challenge and a cool look, and it rolls, so that's pretty neat. The turning quality on this one is also amazing. It's super smooth, very easy to turn. It's not really over lubed like the ball was. It's more like the cube was. It's fairly lubed and it turns really well. So these three are basically the same puzzle, just different shapes. So there is one more, and it is completely different. Check this out, Gear Pyraminx. Now this one is super cool. Basically the turns you can do on this are on these tips here, and you can line everything up based on these inner pieces. So these are the unique ones here. So you need to make sure you turn so that all these center pieces line once again, so it doesn't go based on the tip. So even though I've turned the tip once like this, I can't make another move now, so I have to make sure I realign these center bits, and then I can make another turn like that. So that's the main turn that this puzzle can make. You can also do this thing where if you grab two opposite edges, you can do this. That is just so cool. It turns like every piece at once. It looks absolutely ridiculous. I don't really use that in solves though, because it moves too many pieces. But I will go ahead and scramble this and solve it on camera, and I'll show you what the solving process is like. Alright, so I think this looks decently scrambled. The first step we'll have to do is align these tips with these inner colors. And that's simple enough to do. You just kind of spin them until they match up. So we'll spin this piece until we get blue to align on the top, like that. You see, so this blue matches with this blue. And the center doesn't matter, we can fix that later. So we'll do that for all of the sides here. And then that's all of it. So we have these three blues, and then we kind of match them up on every side. The last one isn't really necessary, but basically we want to make three corners kind of match with one another, and then we're going to just insert edges basically like the way we would on a normal Pyraminx. So we can say take this blue-green edge and rotate it down into the bottom layer, but you see it's flipped, so we're just going to want to spin it until it kind of rests in the slot in the correct orientation. And this is probably honestly not the most efficient method, but it works. So now that we have this lined up, we can move this down out of the way as if we were doing a sledgehammer, and then bring this back. We have to undo the turns in the opposite direction so we know we'll return to the exact same place we started from. So right here, when the greens align, and then we'll bring this corner back up, and what that will do is that will bring this edge into the right orientation, and then we'll just complete the face like this. So we can move on to this one, which is blue-red. Alright, so that's the second edge, and it's okay if these are flipped, like the blue is here and the green is here, as long as it's flush with the bottom layer, we can fix flipped edges at the end. So let's go ahead and insert this last one here. Alright, so here we are. We have one face solved, and once again, we'll fix the centers at the end. But beyond that, we can just use some simple Pyraminx algs, maybe like a sledge here. Bam. Alright, so we're left with one flipped edge, and I have not the greatest way of solving this, but it works. So the way I would approach this last piece is just by moving it into another layer, and then I would twist this tip until this piece spins by 45 degrees, and then I would twist it back. So we're looking for this black line to be aligned this way, and so I'm going to spin that until I see it pop up. So like this. And then I would twist this back, and this is flipped, but that's fine because we can fix this easily. And then we're left with a case like this. And this is something we can solve with the 2-flip alg that comes from like regular Pyraminx. So we can do that just like this, starting with a left sledge. And it flipped them, but it's more like a cycle on this Pyraminx, so we need to do it again, and then it should be solved after that. Bam, perfect. So now we're left with just 2 pieces, and they're oriented correctly, they just need to be flipped. And so that's actually a pretty easy step. Basically what we can do is if we twist one tip enough around, it'll flip all 3 edges around it at once. So what we can do is twist this tip and it'll solve this and unsolve these 2. That'll leave 3 left over, and then we can solve those all at once. So this one is solved and it leaves these 2 flipped, and now we have 3. And the algorithm that twists them will twist them all in around at one tip. So we need to put this one up basically back here. So we can do a U, and then an R, and then twist everything back until it's solved. Like this, and then lastly, we can just twist this one back down, and this one back over. Bam! All done, finally. This one definitely has a lot more steps, and it's a lot more complicated to solve than the previous 3 puzzles. And it's also, once again, amazing that the puzzle turns so well. It's definitely on the stiff side compared to the other 3 puzzles, and just like on all the other puzzles, it has tiles instead of stickers, so you're never going to have to worry about the stickers chipping or falling off. Alright, so that's going to wrap up my final thoughts on these brand new gear cubes from QiYi. Once again, you know, these puzzles, they all turn amazingly. They're all very high quality puzzles. They have tiles, and they're just really fun to solve. As of the day I'm recording this video, the puzzles are not for sale yet on TheCubicle, but they will be soon. I don't know the exact prices yet, but I would definitely recommend picking any of these up. So I'd like to give a huge thank you to TheCubicle for sending me these puzzles to test out, and if you'd like to buy any of them, there will be links in the description once they become available. Also, if you like saving money, you can use the discount code LCC at checkout to get 5% off all of your orders from TheCubicle.com, so be sure to use that code. Either way, that's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.